The rain fell heavily over the dark forest. Cold wind moved between the tall trees, making soft whispering sounds in the night. Far away from the town, a small wooden house stood alone near the edge of the woods. A man named Ethan lived there, by himself. People in town thought Ethan was strange. He rarely spoke to anyone. He worked as a mechanic during the day and spent his nights alone beside the fire in his quiet house. After losing his wife many years ago, he stopped caring about the world around him. Silence became his only friend. That night, Ethan walked back from the river carrying a bucket of water, his boots pressed into the wet ground while thunder rolled across the sky. He wanted nothing more than to return home and sleep. Then, suddenly, a strange blue light flashed deep inside the forest. Ethan stopped walking. The light appeared again, brighter this time. It flickered between the trees like cold fire. He frowned. It was not lightning. It was not a hunter's lantern. Something about it felt wrong. For a moment, Ethan thought about ignoring it, but curiosity pulled him forward. Slowly, he stepped off the path and moved deeper into the woods. The forest became quieter with every step. No birds, no insects, only the sound of rain and Ethan's breathing. Then he saw it. His eyes widened. A massive metal object had crashed between the trees. Smoke rose from its broken side. Blue sparks jumped across its smooth silver surface. It was not made by humans. The object looked like some kind of giant machine from another world. Ethan's heart started beating faster. A spaceship, he whispered. Fear crawled through his body. Every instinct told him to run away, but before he could move, he heard a sound, a child crying, weak, scared, coming from inside the broken ship. Ethan froze. The crying came again. He swallowed hard and slowly walked closer. The metal surface felt cold under his hand. Smoke drifted from a crack in the ship's side. Carefully he climbed inside. The air smelled like burned wires and ash. Strange lights flickered on the walls. Shadows moved across the dark hallway. Then, Ethan saw them. Two figures sat in the corner of the ship, an alien woman and a small child. The mother held the little girl tightly in her arms. Both of them looked terrified. Their silver skin glowed faintly in the darkness. Their large black eyes locked onto Ethan immediately. The child hid her face against her mother's chest. The mother lifted a shaking hand as if trying to protect her daughter. Ethan slowly knelt down. He could see how weak they were. Hungry, cold, afraid. Without speaking, Ethan placed his bucket of water on the floor and gently pushed it toward them. The mother stared at him carefully. For several long seconds, nobody moved. Then finally, the little girl reached for the water. Her tiny hands trembled as she drank. Something changed in that moment. The fear inside Ethan slowly faded. These creatures were not monsters. They were just trying to survive. The little girl looked at Ethan again. This time there was less fear in her eyes, only hope. Outside, thunder shook the forest once more, but high above the clouds, a small red light moved silently across the night sky. Something was searching for the crashed ship. Ethan could not sleep that night. The image of the alien mother and child stayed inside his mind like a shadow. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the little girl's trembling hands holding the bucket of water. Rain continued hitting the windows of his small house, while the fire slowly burned low beside him. He tried to tell himself to forget everything. Forget the ship. Forget the strange silver-skinned aliens. Forget the danger hiding in the forest. But deep inside, he already knew he would return. Before sunrise, Ethan stood in his kitchen preparing food. He filled a small bag with bread, soup, dried meat, and clean water. His hands moved quickly, but his thoughts were heavy. What if someone finds them first? He whispered. The cold morning air wrapped around him as he walked back into the forest. Thick fog moved between the trees, making the woods feel darker than usual. Every sound made Ethan nervous. A snapping branch, moving leaves, distant crows. For the first time in years, fear followed him through the forest. When he finally reached the clearing, he stopped immediately. The crashed ship was still there, silent, broken, hidden beneath the tall trees. Blue lights flickered weakly across the damaged metal walls. Ethan looked around carefully before speaking. "Hello?" he called softly. At first, nothing moved.
Friend.
Then suddenly, two large black eyes appeared inside the darkness of the ship. The little girl. She watched him quietly from the shadows. This time she did not look afraid, only curious. Ethan slowly knelt and placed the food on the ground. Warm steam rose from the soup into the cold air. A few seconds later, the alien mother stepped forward carefully, keeping one arm around her daughter. Up close, Ethan could see how exhausted she looked. Her silver skin had lost its glow, and dark marks covered one side of her face. She looked ready to collapse at any moment. The little girl stared at the food with wide eyes. Ethan gently pushed the bowl closer. "It's okay," he said softly. The mother hesitated. Then finally, she allowed the child to eat. The girl quickly grabbed the bowl and drank the soup greedily. Warmth slowly returned to her face. A tiny smile appeared on her lips. Then something unexpected happened. The little girl laughed. It was soft and musical, unlike any sound Ethan had ever heard before. For a moment, the dark forest no longer felt cold. The alien mother looked at Ethan again. This time, the fear inside her eyes was weaker. Slowly, she lowered her head toward him. A silent "thank you." Ethan felt something strange inside his chest. For years, his life had been empty and quiet. Now, in the middle of a hidden forest beside a broken alien ship, he suddenly felt needed again. But the peaceful moment did not last long. A distant sound echoed through the trees. Voices, human voices. Ethan quickly stood up. Flashlights moved between the trees far away. Hunters. The alien mother grabbed her daughter tightly, panic filling her face. Ethan's heart began pounding. People were searching the forest. If anyone discovered the ship, everything would change. Without thinking, Ethan looked at the frightened mother and child. Then he whispered the words that would change all their lives forever. "I won't let them find you." The voices in the forest grew louder. Ethan quickly blew out his lantern and stepped closer to the entrance of the broken ship. Darkness covered the clearing while moving flashlight beams danced between the trees far away. The alien mother held her daughter tightly against her chest. Fear filled both of their faces. The little girl looked at Ethan with wide black eyes. "Bad people," she whispered softly in broken English. Ethan froze for a second. She was learning his language. He slowly nodded. "Maybe," he answered quietly. The sound of snapping branches echoed closer. Ethan's mind raced fast. If the hunters reached the clearing, they would see the ship immediately. He looked around desperately. Then suddenly he grabbed large broken branches lying near the crash site and pulled them over the glowing metal surface. "Help me," he whispered. To his surprise, the alien mother stepped forward without hesitation. Even weak and exhausted, she helped drag leaves and mud over the ship's bright silver walls. The little girl copied them, carrying tiny sticks in her small hands. Together, the three worked silently in the cold darkness. For the first time, they no longer felt like strangers. They felt like a team. The flashlight beams moved closer. Ethan could now hear the men clearly. "I swear I saw lights around here. Probably just campers." No. Something crashed. Fear crawled through Ethan's chest. The alien mother looked ready to panic. She pulled her daughter behind her protectively. Ethan noticed her hands shaking badly. Then he made a decision. "Hide inside," he whispered. The mother hesitated. Ethan looked directly into her dark eyes. "Trust me." For a long second, silence filled the clearing. Then, slowly, she nodded. The mother and child disappeared back inside the ship while Ethan stepped away from the crash site and moved toward the approaching voices. Moments later, two men carrying rifles and flashlights entered the clearing. Both stopped when they saw Ethan standing alone near the trees. One hunter frowned immediately. "What are you doing out here?" Ethan forced himself to stay calm. "Hunting," he answered. The second man lifted his flashlight, scanning the area carefully. "You hear strange sounds last night?" Ethan shrugged casually. "Thunderstorm." The men exchanged uncertain looks. For a terrifying moment, one flashlight beam moved dangerously close to the hidden ship beneath the branches. Ethan's heart nearly stopped. But then, a loud thunder crack exploded across the sky. Rain suddenly poured down heavily through the forest. The hunters cursed loudly. "Forget this," one man muttered. "We'll come back tomorrow." Slowly, the two men turned and disappeared into the darkness. Ethan waited until their lights vanished completely. Only then did he breathe again. Rain soaked his clothes as he walked back toward the hidden ship. The alien mother carefully stepped outside, holding her daughter close. Relief filled her face when she realized the danger was gone. The little girl looked up at Ethan quietly. Then she smiled. "Friend," she whispered. That one word hit Ethan harder than he expected. Friend. For years, nobody had called him anything except the lonely man in the woods. But now, a child from another world trusted him completely. The rain continued falling around them while silence filled the clearing once more. Then suddenly, a strange red light flashed high above the clouds. The alien mother's face instantly turned pale. Her eyes widened with horror. She grabbed Ethan's arm tightly and pointed toward the sky. Her voice trembled. "They found us."